Hey everybody, time to revisit some of my old USCF games. I used to record an analysis for each of them, and I have done that for a good bit of them. I haven't done it for every one of them. I've done it for almost all the wins, which is something I enjoyed doing at the beginning. But there are, I think, 3 losses that I need to go through. 2 of them are very short. There's 3 losses. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. I think I lost 3 USCF games. One was one that I've already gone over, and then the other 2 were pretty short, where I lost to tactics. It was my first time playing chess in 7 or 8 years, seriously, probably, maybe even 9 or 10. It was a long time. I stopped playing for a real long time. I've talked a bit in some of my other videos about how I kind of had the bug. The bug bit me again after I went to a USCF tournament with a friend of mine that asked me to go, and at that tournament, it was the first time I played in a long time. I won my first game against a 1650, 20, I don't know, 1600, mid 1600 rated player, and my second game was against the highest rated player in the tournament, who was a high 1800 kind of area rated player, and I think so anyway. Anyway, he was much better than I was then, and definitely much better than I am even now. So I want to go over that game today, just to kind of get it on video. I have it in my SCID database here, and I'll show you kind of how it went. So I was white, and I played e4. He played knight f6, which I wasn't very familiar with. Alekhine's defense. I know that e5 is a common theme in Alekhine's defense. I just protected with knight c3. I didn't really know how to really react to it. This is called the Scandinavian variation. I assume it is because it can transpose into Scandinavian defense pretty easily with maybe d5, which he played. So this is either a transposition into the Scandinavian defense, which is e4 and then d5, or it's similar enough to it that we're going to call it the Scandinavian variation of the Alekhine's defense. All right, so I advanced here. He retreated to knight d7, knight ft7. Now, from here, it really takes on a transposition into the French defense, which was okay for me because I was comfortable with it, but I was only comfortable with it from the black side, especially this variation where my knight is on c3 and I can't play c3 myself. So most of the time that I play the French defense as white, I'm going to play c3 as a response to c5 here. So this is kind of a weird transposition into the French, and f4 means it's apparently, and SCID is telling me it's the French Steinitz variation now with move 5 f4. So that is probably what's going on here. So luckily I've kind of stayed in some sort of book, even though I had really no idea what was happening. Like I said, I hadn't played chess in a long time. He played c5. Now here I'm a bit concerned because I'm not able to play c3 to maintain my pawn chain. Now f4, the point of f4 was to support e5 here in case d4 goes away, and I'm only able to put a knight there. So I'm hanging in there at this point, but I don't like the position. Knight f3 just to protect d4. Knight c6 in order to add another attacker to d4. Now at this point I have 2 defenders and he has 2 attackers, so it seems to be okay. Developing, this seems to be pretty typical, and castling will come soon. Queen b6 adding a 3rd defender to, or sorry, a 3rd attacker to d4. So we have the knight, the pawn, the queen, and here we have 2 defenders, the queen and the knight. So we need to figure out some way to deal with that threat. The way that I chose was to attack the queen, so that we would be removing one of those attackers. He, however, plays this move queen a5, which I probably didn't consider at all. And queen a5 is going to force one of 2 moves. It's either going to play knight c3 back blocking, or also possible with c3. c3 does 2 things. It blocks the check, and it exposes the defense of the a4 knight with the queen, getting that c-pawn out of the way. So a couple of things have been accomplished here. Number 1, I've gotten my knight out of the way so that I can play c3. However, I'm going to play c3 here, and I'm going to say try variation. c3, and now we have a problem because the knight doesn't have anywhere to go. So would there be something like b5? No, not yet, because well, yeah, b5. So here b5, and I think the knight is lost. I guess not. This is just going to lose a pawn, so that's okay. I mean, no, actually it's going to lose the whole piece, isn't it? So here, what do we have? Did I do that right? That seems weird. I didn't even look at that, but yeah, this seems like this will just lose a pawn. Something. Won't this lose something? Am I okay here? Let's go back and look, because I did that without thinking. This piece is defended twice and attacked twice, so I should lose something out of that, right? So here, right, okay, yeah, I think that was probably the way I should have done it. I'm not sure what I was doing, but I was doing something wrong. Oh, hey, look. So this may not actually be as bad a line as I thought originally. So, anyway, c3 is a possible move there. Maybe I should put that in as a real variation. Let's go c3, add new variation, and c3, b5, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, and then b4 could happen. So that's just a possibility. Let's see, what could black do as a response here? Obviously we need to save the queen. Can we save the queen with a threat? Maybe just this? No. That threat doesn't work. Silly. Okay, so back to the main line. Let's get out of that variation. And here we are, back where we were. Anyway, that's just a possible thing that I could have done. Instead, what I did in the game was knight c3. And I was probably a little bit afraid of that b5 trick where I've cut off my retreat back to c3 with the b5, but I probably didn't see that. And this has been over a year ago, so I'm not really positive what I was thinking at the time, but I'm looking at it now, and that's what I'm thinking. Now, this gets a little uncomfortable also after c5 takes d4. Knight takes, queen takes. Now here we have a real problem because bishop c5. As far as I know, there's only one move here that doesn't lose. So we're on that tightrope, and me being on a tightrope when this is my first game to play in a long time is not a good situation. In addition to the fact that his development looks pretty good, mine looks a little bit questionable. He needs to get his light square bishop out, of course, but for the most part, his pieces are being pretty active, mine are being pretty passive. So his development is probably superior. Here I need to play queen a4. And I'm going to add that as a variation just to test some things. If we do this, is there anything active this bishop can do other than come back? Maybe not. So here my development is ugly, but the material is even. 7 pawns apiece, 3 minors, excuse me. So this is pretty even, I would say. I would say black would probably have a slight edge here. Maybe not because of my central wedge, but I would probably prefer to play as black here over white. So this is possible. However, what I played was a complete disaster, and that was queen d3. Now the problem with queen d3 is it allows a pretty rough little combination, which is d4. And d4 attacks the pinned knight. So what's got to happen here is I need to move or remove the defender, or remove the attacker here at d4, or move the knight, or I'm going to lose it. Unfortunately, there's no way to do that since the knight's pinned. The only way I can remove d4 is with the queen, and the bishop is defending that. So at this point, I resigned the game because I was going to hang a piece to a pretty superior player, and I didn't like my development anyway. So I resigned. I'm not positive resigning was the best move. My opponent offered to go over a couple of things with me after the game, but I wasn't really happy with my play, and I just kind of wanted to go and be by myself for a little bit. Wasn't upset or anything like that. It just wasn't really what I wanted to do, was looking at the game any further. So one possible line here was to play bishop d2. And it's possible to proceed this way, I think, a little bit. Bishop c2, d2, pawn takes, bishop takes, and I had some activity for that piece. Not a lot, but I do have a little bit. It's probably possible to play on a little bit. But, oh, it added that to the game. I don't want that in the game. So I'll remove that in just a bit. But the final position was right here when I resigned. So this game, not one of my shining moments or anything like that, but it was something I wanted to get in video form so that we could take a look at it. And I have a couple other games that I want to look at as well. So this was, once again, round 2 of my first USCF tournament game against the highest rated player in the tournament. I thought he played pretty strongly, and I kind of botched it. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.